It's Instructor Brian Auger here. Today we're just going to add another video for blocking. My previous blocking video, we were talking about the way that in Taekwondo we block. We do a corkscrew motion, all right? And we're actually exposing the underside of the arm because we like to say bruise, don't break. If you hit with the radial part of the arm and it's something like substantial coming down like a baseball bat, you're going to shatter your arm. But if you turn it and use all that cushion underneath, we bruise, don't break, and that was the rationale behind it. But there is something called offensive blocking. I mean, for lack of better terms, or it's probably called different things in other dojos and that sort of thing. But offensive blocking means you actually do use the radial part of your arm. And you can use this in blocking, and it can be effective. As long as you are blocking someone else's arm, and you know about the size and strength of that arm that's coming your way, it can be an effective tool because the radial part of the bone here and the sharp bones on the edge of the wrist right here can be painful as the block comes in. If instead of turning all the way to the fatty part, we just go right here with the radial part and you hit on the inside of their arm right here. For instance, there's a hook punch coming in and you hit that hurts because that hits their radial part right there. So offensive blocking essentially is more like counter-striking. So as the strike is coming in, you are doing a block, but it is essentially a strike at the inner part of their arm against their radial part of their bone at the exact same moment. And your counter force is actually focused directly on that area as opposed to theirs, where their focus is actually trying to hit you wherever they're trying to hit you. Yours comes in first and it hurts. It will hurt, actually. Do a block, have someone try and swing a hook punch at you and hit it as hard as you can with the radial part of your bone on the inside of the arm there. So just wanted to add that in there. So there is the offensive blocking that can be done. And again, instead of rotating all the way, we just go sharp up, directly into it. We don't just put our hand up there again. You don't put your hand up there and then let them strike it as hard as you can. That's not going to do anything different other than hurting yourself even more because you're not bruising at that point. You actually have to strike. Think of it, a block, as the counter strike in this instance. So you are striking, you are striking, you are striking. Whether that's blocking a leg kick or here, whether that's blocking uppercut here, and out hook punch or a haymaker punch, or a back slap or back fist, or if they're coming down with a hammer fist to the top of your head or something, and you are aiming directly for the inside of that arm, ideally hitting their radial part at the exact same moment or beforehand so that they feel the pain and not you. And that can be very effective. So again, your basic blocks can go like that. Now, there's also another type of blocking that was made popular in the movie, The Karate Kid. There's many ways to block, but obviously circles. And if you take martial arts, if you study different disciplines like I have, at the end of the day, a circle will get you in and out of every type of hold, and a circle will begin or end pretty much all blocks. And to help you with that, a circle in Taekwondo, they add also the corkscrew with the circle this way, but also corkscrewing at the same time. But you can get very basic with your blocks. So, in the Karate Kid, you see him painting the fence up and down. This leaves a lot of room to get hit on either side. So we turn it this way, and you can actually just go straight up. And you can block with the top part of the arm here. Now there is a cushiony part here, so this would be more of a bruise than a break. But if they're swinging a baseball bat, I don't recommend it. I would turn and hit with this fatty part more, or get the heck out of the way. It's even better. But anyways, you can come directly up. And there's something to be said. Instead of the deflection of it, which is what happens when you corkscrew, it just is a solid hit, okay? And it's a quicker movement. So down, up, okay, side to side. In the movie, you see him doing the circles. And the circles help, of course, to get you there, but at the end of the day, using the top part of the arm as well to block, you can do that as well. So, looks like that, basic. I would, instead of going like this, I would definitely go like this to get maximum amount of coverage, because if they hit your head, they just come down on this side a little bit, that's no good. So like that, and then circles. He has the wax on, he has the sand the floor for the kicks or the punches to the stomach. He has this for the straight punches or the haymaker punches or hook punches. And then he has this for the, I guess it would be a hammer fist, someone coming down with a bat, knife, whatever, or even an axe kick, I suppose. And then, coming down as well, anything coming up directly in front with a kick, like a front snap kick or a push kick or whatever. So there are many ways to do the blocks, and in some schools this is exactly what they do, okay? And you can mix it up with double hands and that sort of thing. In our Hapkido school, we also learn the two-handed block, and it looks a little silly when you're doing it back and forth, but the idea is that you're actually just trying to defend blows as quickly as possible so you can get in, and then you're in the grappling position past the blows so that you can do some technique and bring them down in ideally a circle motion towards the ground and get them to the ground. Put them in a tap out or knockout. So, for that blocking, the hands are just up, and then we move in, okay? Or we move back if they're coming fast at us or whatever, but the idea is to block those blows initially, okay? However they're coming, you don't know, but you just want to be prepared, so you're swinging to get in, and then there's a grapple involved afterwards, in which you bring them down. So, I didn't want to leave it with just, this was the only way to block, or even with closed fists in Taekwondo, this was the only way to block. Obviously, pads on the hand is better than hitting with your fingers, I would say. So that's why my hands are open in Hapkido. Also because after the block, then we grab, and bring in a circle. Block, grab. It's always block, grab, wrist, circle, motion down or away from the body so that you can step in and do what you need to do to bring them down. So there are many ways to block. So you have your offensive blocking with the radial part of the arm. You have your traditional, if it's a big thing coming your way or too strong and you just want to bruise, don't break, go with the underbelly. You have the top part, actually does have some pad on it. You can use, in some schools in training, and a quicker way to get up instead of having to rotate it, but the rotate is more deflection, so different trains of thought. And of course, circles. Circles will get you into everything. Even if they grab you, a circle will get you out, but circles also help with the blocks. You'll get more. And I usually find that I'm always crossing. I'm always crossing in front. And a lot of schools, they start from shoulders or, sometimes from their here as if they were pulling out a weapon or whatever for their blocks or whatever. But for me, it's always a cross across the chest, because at the worst case scenario, if they're attacking you, you already have a block that's sort of there before you do your block. So for me, I always like to cross in front of my body, okay? And that way, if they were faster than I was expecting, I still have something in between me and them that I'm blocking with. So I'm a big fan of the double block. So when I'm coming into my blocks, there's another block, that hand's in the way, or high blocks, this before this, okay? Low blocks, for me, not from the shoulder. I prefer the cross in front of me, okay? Middle, high, low, and and all of that. Even back stance blocks, when you're coming in or whatever, I like that cross before I get into that block. Someone else over here, someone else attacking from this position. In worst case, I can't get it out in time. I still have a block in front of me. But that's just some more extra on blocking, because we only have one video. And the students asked, that's not the only way to block. There's got to be a lot of other ways to block. There are. I mean, you can block with your legs. This is illegal in Taekwondo to just lift up your leg and use it as a block. But in Aikido, oh yeah, you can do that. And just lifting the leg and taking the block from the kick or whatever, deflecting that. A lot of times will just lift the leg up like that. And I mean, depending on what kind of martial art you're doing, it's legal or not. But yeah, you can't just sit here like this in Taekwondo and just block, and then kick, But you can in Hapkido use that quick as a block with your leg as well too, side of your leg, which is a good one as well. So there's many ways to block, and those are just a few. We wanted to add some in there. But yeah, two-handed blocks, all sorts of things. Just find the cross, find the circle, and decide whether or not you want to do it as a counterattack, or depending on the amount of force, the underbelly, bruise, don't break, or other trains of thought, the top part, but find the circle and all of that. And I teach all the different ways to block because I've taken, again, multiple forms of martial arts, and I've studied at different schools and read many other books as well. And of course, love the movies like Karate Kid that got me started when I was a kid. But there's no wrong way. A lot of schools have just different ways of doing it slightly. And I'm not saying it's wrong to do it from the hip or do it from the shoulder either. I just particularly didn't like anything that was one-handed, that wasn't in a circular motion or didn't have a double hand on it or whatever. And I always felt like this one was like, maybe if I'm pulling out a weapon or a sword or whatever, this block makes more sense like that. But again, you can see, using the radial part of the arm, that's how they did it. Pain, as opposed to an in-out block where it's underbelly, like that. So, or like this with the underbelly. That train of thought was hit with the radial side. So there's many ways to do all these types of blocks. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. That seems like an excessively long video, but blocking's good, blocking's important. Before you strike, you always want to do the block. Let them make the attack first. It's usually their mistake, because then you have something to go in on. It's always better, I feel, in a fight to not do that first strike, unless you're using the element of surprise and you want to end the fight, immediately, and it's an emergency situation and they're not expecting it. You need to take them out, and you're doing lethal force, throat, eyes, or groin, or whatever. But if it's just a regular fight, let them throw that first punch. Then they're the one in trouble, number one, and number two, they're already giving away what their move is and what they're doing or whatever. As long as your reflexes are there enough, you quickly block. And then, counter grab, pull on that arm, create the circle, step behind, on the head or chin, and you create that whole circular motion down or whatever. The block is always followed, I prefer, by a wrist grab, and that's a Hapkido method, as opposed to just Taekwondo or karate where it's just strikes. And you can do both, but if you're in tight and you want to end the fight, it's gonna get grabby. So knowing how all the joint locks and all those type of things was good. And then of course jiu-jitsu if you get to the ground. But remember, in jiu-jitsu and with all those martial arts that you roll on the ground, you're playing by a set of rules that says they can't attack your groin, eyes, or throat, because in real life, if you go to the ground and anything goes, you're gonna start attacking some other ways. You might not be able to get them into a hold like that. So. I love watching the jiu-jitsu stuff. It's amazing to see. Same thing with the judo and the throwing and all that. But you got to have some end game in the real life, and it ties into blocking, because what are you going to do after the block? It's got to be a block and a counter strike. Ideally at the same time. If you can, at the same time is even more ideal, and that's what you build up to. But in the beginning it's 1 and then 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4. There's steps, and that's okay. You block, grab, strike, and sweep, essentially, to bring them down. But all of that we teach from Taekwondo up to Hapkido, and of course in Gumdo as well with the swords. It's just different. How do you block someone with a sword? There's all those. I'll make those videos eventually, hopefully, if I get another student. But there's how to disarm with a knife and gun and all those type of things. It's just different when you're focusing on a weapon. When you focus on a weapon, actually, I'll leave it at one last caveat. When anything is a weapon involved, obviously, you see a gun, you run, or you see a knife, you run for your life. Don't try, you're not going to be faster than them. There's hair triggers, you're going to get killed, whatever. But if it's a life-threatening situation, there's no way out, you already know you're going to die, they took you to the woods and made you dig your own grave or something, or you've been locked in a room for a week and then they came in and they said the ransom wasn't paid, get on your knees. Well, you might try some, gun or knife self-defense at that point. Or you're like on a moving metro car and there's no way out, the guy's just coming in and stabbing people. Wow, shit, you might, or shooting people. You might as well, try something other than just stand there and die. But that's the only times I recommend it. But in all weapons self-defense, the block is so key, because it's actually 2 hands. You're taking both your hands and you're focusing on that weapon, as opposed to there are only 1 hand on that weapon. And you have to use that double strength and that double from both of your hands to focus entirely on the weapon, and to either disarm or to get it out and then point it back at them and hold them at bay, or disable them, or kill them, depending on your level of force that is appropriate in that situation. And you got to know your laws and such for that. But anyways, all right, too long a video, but hopefully some of you enjoyed it, and hopefully it'll add to the blocking and the mentality and the things that come with it, with the circles and that sort of thing. Because there's just so many ways to do it, and there's one right way or wrong way to do it. And I always encourage my students when they come and they ask and they say, well, you only teach it like that. It's not that I only teach it like that. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible to start, and then when you get to black belt level or later and you want to learn another technique style or whatever, we could start. I just don't want to change it all up from day one and confuse the students, but it is what it is. Okay, we'll end it there.